I'm Connor, and 6 months ago, I built a Nerf gun that connects directly to Twitch chat that lets them shoot me with their channel points. But it didn't work quite the way I wanted it to. And I thought I'd just dig into it and find out what was causing all the issues. Before I take you through the changes I made, let me just tell you quickly how these things work. So the clip will go in here, which will feed the bullets up. There is then normally a actuator that runs back and forth that will then push the bullets into the flywheel, which sits through here, sort of in this area, which then they speed up, and as they spin, they will fire the bullet out the end. But we had issues with both sides of these. As you can tell, this gun has been modified, and let me take you through the changes I've made. But let me also tell you why I made them. So when I started the project, I didn't want to pay for real Nerf bullets, and this was a big mistake. So I bought 100 of these off of Amazon, but they turned out to be just a bit shorter than your regular standard Nerf dart, and that caused a lot of issues for having that actuator push it out the end of the barrel. So this is the actuator that was there before I switched it out for a solenoid, and as you can see here, I attempted to hot glue onto the end of it to extend it a little bit. That didn't quite work. So how this normally works is you'll power your motor, it will spin this, which will spin these gears, which will in turn twist this. But it's a bit stiff as it doesn't have power at the minute. Let me remove this motor. So you'll see as this spins, it will actually push forward. So obviously it's missing its housing at the minute, but so as this comes around, it pushes the actuator backwards and forwards as it runs through this slot. Now that's fine, but it's very hard to make this go a longer distance without swapping out all of these internal components. And I thought it'd be easier to just switch it out for a solenoid. So as you can see, I've split the gun in half to now show you what it looks like on the inside. So these are the controllers on the outside. So this is an Arduino that's been programmed to actuate the solenoid. These are relays that I'll explain in a moment. So we took out all of the internal parts of the Nerf gun. So there's this assembly that's normally sitting there in that sort of orientation. And this will interface with here. So on this part I showed previously. So as this goes back and forth, it will push this up and down, which would have turned a switch that would be sitting, I think, around here or here. And yeah, so by taking that out, I 3D printed the housing for this 12-volt solenoid. And so as it's actuated, it comes forward and it pushes further forward than this part would have. By having the solenoid, it allows me to control exactly how many darts we want to fire every time it's actuated, which was an issue I was having before, as I was trying to set it based on time, and 6 seconds of this rotating is not very accurate for planning out how many bullets you want to come out. And it would lead to it being stuck in the out position, like this, and then when you go to fire it next, it comes back and then comes forward again, and it just gets jammed up with the darts. So by using a solenoid, it really helped to reduce that. However, the problem with this was that it can't run on this battery pack that is normally installed in the gun. So this is the 6 volts, so 1.5 each for these C cells. So the way they're laid out will give you 6 volts. And it was being used to power 1 motor, 2 motor, and then this motor that was installed in this assembly before. So you're doing 3 motors off of 6 volts, which, you know, I'm not going to work out the maths perfectly, but you know, it's about 2 volts per motor. By installing an external battery pack, it allows us to power the 12-volt solenoid we've got installed. So using these 3 rechargeable cells. The problem with that was I bought these cell holders off of Amazon. And as you'll see here, you know, it holds 4, which in theory is around 14 volts. So I loaded this up with 4 cells, forgetting the actual voltage of them. And as you can see, the wires started to melt. I don't know if I can get this to focus here. So this was sitting on my desk and just began to melt and smoke. And I quickly realized that everything was getting very hot. And you can actually see there, I have another housing here, which I took the wires off of. And yeah, all the plastic started to melt. And yeah, it's wasn't good. So we swapped those out for much thicker, higher AWG wires, because they're able to actually withstand the current going through them. They won't melt. So watch out when you buy things off Amazon. So with an external battery pack for the solenoid and the solenoid set up with the Arduino, that was all ready to go. We then were left with these 4 batteries for these 2 motors, which turned out to be a lot more consistent and really helped get those flywheels up to speed in the 2 seconds of build-up time that we allowed it in the code. So when that's coming forward, they're hitting it at top speed, and it's really sending the bullets out now. So from what I was saying earlier about the bullets being too short, you can see when they're sort of sitting in this magazine, the cheap bullets they sit off from the edge here. So that is just enough for the old version to get jammed. But now when it's in the new version, and it sits in here, so take this switch out, just so it's getting in the way. When with solenoid actuates, it's more than enough to push that into the flywheel housing and get that fire out. So let me put this all back together and I will show you how it works. Before I show you how this thing works, let me quickly take you through the electronics. So these batteries connect to this relay, which then connects to this relay, which then connects to the Arduino. So this relay controls the flywheel starting up and allowing negative connection to this relay. When this relay is given negative connection, it will fire the solenoid. So this relay on this side will go on and off 6 times to control the activation of the solenoid, and this relay will stay on for, I think it's 10 seconds or 6 seconds, to allow those flywheels to keep spinning as long as the solenoid is firing. This will then go off, and that will then go off, and this will then wait again for a signal from the computer. So this is connecting to a serial port on the computer, which when activated by Twitch, StreamerBot will run a script on Python, which will activate this Arduino code. I won't bother showing the code because it's quite simple. It's just the serial port activation, and the Arduino code is just to turn the flywheel on and to just to activate these relays, really. Now let me show you what it's like if I give it a test run. So there you can see that the flywheels didn't turn on. That's because the switch for the clip wasn't depressed. So when that is on, it will activate the flywheels. So let me show you that now. So when the clip is inserted and we run it, this is what it will sound like. Now let me show you in action. All right, now this is what happens when I run the program. Oh, ah, get me from my head. Ow. Oh. Ah. Oh. Oh, it still hurts. Ow. Okay, well, yeah, it's punchier than it was before.
It's the solenoid.
Thanks for watching.